The Bible is a story, and our author is telling us an incredible story. God creates, he speaks everything into existence, and he pronounces it as good because he is good, including Adam and Eve, the first man, the first woman, who is also our federal head. What they do holds up against us in court. So when they eat the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and remove God from the equation, I eat the fruit, you eat the fruit. Your biggest problem, my biggest problem is sin, and sin is a problem because it leads to death, but God promises that the offspring of the woman will come and crush the serpent's head. Well, it's not Cain, it's not Abel. We find out it's Seth. Then we look to Noah and his son Shem on a boat in a desert. And then we meet a man named Abraham, who is promised three things: many children, a child who will bless the whole world, which sounds like a serpent crusher, and a special land. Well, so far, him and Sarah have no kids. They don't have a special land. And no, definitely no special child who blesses the whole world. All they have so far is one son, Ishmael, with Hagar, who we're told is not the serpent crusher. But our story is about to change, and that's where we pick up. Abraham and Sarah and his nephew Lot leave to go to the land that God's going to show them, the promised land that was one of Abraham's promises. No kids though, so Abraham and Hagar have a son, Ishmael. God says it's not him. Remember Lot, the nephew? Well, Lot and Abraham decided, because of the animals there was too many, they were eating too much of the same land, to split apart. So Lot ends up going towards these towns called Sodom and Gomorrah, which turn out to be very wicked towns, so much so that God comes and destroys them. And he tells Lot to take his family and escape. Do not look back. They leave the town. God is destroying it with hellfire and brimstone. And Lot's wife turns around and looks back and is instantly turned into a pillar of salt. So that leaves Lot and his two daughters, and they escape to the mountains and they hide in a cave. Okay. I don't know if you know this, but the Bible has some really disturbing and disgusting stories. We have to talk about a few of those because they factor into our big story. This is one of them, Genesis 19. Lot and his daughters have gone to the mountain. The daughters have no kids. The only man they know that's still alive is their dad. So here's their plan. The oldest daughter says to the youngest daughter, why don't we get dad drunk, and then we will sleep with him and have kids with him. It's as disgusting as it sounds. Basically, they rape their dad, because that's exactly what it was. The first night, they get their dad drunk out of his mind, and the older daughter goes in and sleeps with her dad. And it says he doesn't even know when she came or when she went. Comes out and says, work for me, let's do it for you tomorrow. And they do it again. Both daughters get pregnant with their dad. And you go, why are you saying this? This is disgusting. Yeah, it is, but here's why. Is because both daughters get pregnant, have kids. One becomes the father of a group of people called the Moabites. Hold on to that, that's gonna come back. Anyway, Abraham has Ishmael, but that's not the son of promise. When he is 99 years old and his wife Sarah is 89 years old. I mean, they haven't had any kids and now they're 99 and 89. It's not happening. Come on, the plumbing's broken, right? Like, it ain't working. God comes again in the form of an angel and says, you and Sarah are going to have a kid. 1 year later, Abraham's 100, Sarah's 90. They have a son named Isaac, the son of promise. Close call. You and I were a 90-year-old woman and a 100-year-old man battling infertility away from us never seeing a serpent crusher and dying and going to hell. But God's writing this story, and the line continues. So we need Isaac to stay alive. So if we get to a story where God asks Abraham to take his son, his only son, the one he loves, Isaac, up a mountain and offer him as a sacrifice, well, this would be bad for a few reasons. Number one, because human sacrificing, I mean, we put dictators in jail for life for that as a war crime. But number two, selfishly speaking, I need this kid to stay alive so that the serpent crusher can come and solve my biggest problem, sin and death. God asks Abraham to sacrifice him. They're going up a mountain, and all of a sudden he stops all the servants and says, you guys stay here and let me and the boy go alone to worship God together. I have a friend who's a cop who, when he heard this part for the first time, he went, oh, great. No eyewitnesses to first-degree murder. Talk about putting the humanity back in this story. We're about to see first-degree murder, and Abraham has Isaac on an altar, and he's got the knife raised, and he's just about to plunge the knife into his heart, sacrifice his son, and send you and me to hell forever. And God stops him. There's also this thing in the Bible called foreshadowing, where what happens here is a picture of what's going to come. This is one of those moments. Because there's going to be another father who's going to send his son, his only son, the one he loves, up a mountain as a sacrifice. And this time he won't stop, and it'll be a good thing. In case you haven't picked it up, God will be that father. His son will be Jesus. He'll go up the mountain of Mount Calvary, and he'll be sacrificed. But we're not there yet. So Isaac lives, and he meets a girl named Rebecca. Interestingly enough, they meet at a well. Can't really prove this, but it's kind of fun. Read the Old Testament. Wells are kind of like the eHarmony of the day. Almost every time somebody ends up at a well, they end up with a wife. It's kind of cool. So Isaac and Rebecca, they meet at a well. They get married. They have two sons, Jacob and Esau. Esau is the firstborn, but God chooses Jacob and says, I'm going to bless you. So he deceives his brother, has to run because his brother wants to kill him. Very dysfunctional family. And he runs where he meets this guy, his uncle Laban, meets a couple of daughters at a well, and he marries both of them. It's kind of a messed up story. You've got Rachel and Leah, and then they get the two handmaids involved, kind of like Abraham, Sarah, Hagar thing. And before you know it, Jacob, who God changes his name to Israel, he has 12 sons. So these are the 12 sons or the 12 tribes of Israel. The two you need to know about, number one, Judah, because as you've heard, God is on a mission, and he is looking to recruit worshipers from everywhere to gather around the throne of the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So he's important. And Joseph, the favorite. He'll factor in, probably not the way you think, but he's going to factor into our story. So that's where we kind of end this episode. It looks pretty bad because people keep removing God from the equation, doing things their own way, screwing it all up. But God is on a mission. Even though it's easy to lose hope, don't. Because God gave a promise that there would be an offspring of the woman who would come and crush the serpent's head. We're going to start to see that take shape a little bit in our next episode.